Hey guys, it'll be about 5 minutes.
Okay, cool, sweet.
You need to spool up anything.
No, you're doing it. Yes. No.
Do you ever think you're gonna be, shoveling sand instead of shoveling snow? She wasn't happy.
I'm like, okay, well, go back to the other.
Bye-bye. It's not like it, and then I realized how much it impacted, because like, snow.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something about the sun that makes me much more active than, I want to be outside, like working out and doing things. Supposed to like come
I
over
felt,
my bed.
I felt when I was up there, I felt like I was wasted 9 months of my life. Because it was something, I hated snow.
Really?
I
Me
hate
too, me too.
Doing live shots out, I used to shoot football with my hands, I don't know how many times I've gotten almost frost.
Oh yeah, it sucks.
Couldn't even
Hit
feel
the
your
snow,
hands.
yeah.
Soldiers Field, forget about it. Mistake on the way.
It's the, as they call it.
Yeah, they do. Thought that they put that stupid,
Going over? Huh?
Oh,
beautiful,
Forks?
beautiful.
Not in the last 15 minutes.
Gothic.
Yes. Florida was always.
Yeah, Jessica,
Well, little more north of the thing. As basic allocation, you know. I had to work, before the week after the weather, probably not, I just think.
So who's this for? You work for?
I work for Collier County.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I do the Collier TV.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Summers, Director of Collier County Bureau of Emergency Services and Emergency Management. Speaking with you today from the Collier County Emergency Services Center. County Manager Amy Patterson is joining me. We wanted to make some important announcements to everyone this afternoon. First of all, let me go over some current conditions and some changes that we're making in Collier County related to the storm, and then County Manager Amy Patterson is going to talk a little bit about government services, and then we'll take your questions. As I mentioned and have mentioned in previous briefings, we were obviously concerned about the narrow track of Hurricane Ian, and we continue to see some deviation from that track that brings that storm a little closer to Collier County. We knew this might be a potential early on, so we've been paying very close attention to that. And while we are not as concerned necessarily about hurricane force winds, we are certainly concerned about the onshore flow, the winds that are blowing water up into the bays and estuaries, and as a result generating some storm surge and the possibility for local coastal flooding. As we see that track, we are going to issue a mandatory evacuation order for the areas, the immediate coastal areas, south and west of US 41. You've heard us speak of our A zone, and we talked about our A zone residents being ready to move at a moment's notice, making sure that they know their risk, they know their base flood elevation, they know what flooding conditions they may have experienced in the past. So we're moving forward with this mandatory evacuation order, again, south and west of US 41. We have spoken with the city of Marco, who is just in the process of making their announcement. We have spoken with Everglades City. We've spoken with our chair of the county commission in order to coordinate the unincorporated areas of Collier County, along with the immediate coastal areas within the city of Naples. Shortly, once this information goes out, we will be contacting our wireless subscribers on Alert Collier and making that notification through our mass notification system, hopefully within the geographical boundaries of that A zone. It's not unusual for some of these cellular notifications to go outside the A zone. So again, those notifications are intended to raise your awareness and make sure that you double check with radio, television, and Collier County's websites for additional information. Remember that we're in a coastal storm warning, we're in a tropical storm warning, we're in a hurricane watch, we're in a flood watch, and we're in a tornado watch. So that's very indicative of the unstable atmosphere and the conditions that we're dealing with right now. And again, part of our reason for making this mandatory evacuation recommendation. We have 4 shelters that will be open at 5 p.m. today. And if shelter is your absolute last resort, we know that you'll be much more comfortable with family or friends or hotel well inland, but as a last resort for evacuating to one of our schools as shelters, please bring your bedding, please bring your food, your medication, and quiet games for the children. The 4 evacuation shelters are as follows: Oak Ridge Middle School, Corkscrew Middle School, Golden Gate Middle School, and Immokalee Middle School. So those are the 4 that are pet friendly. We are adding 3 additional shelters to make those available at 5 p.m. 2 at 5 p.m. Golden Gate High School and Immokalee High School. Golden Gate High School will open at 6 p.m. So again, let me repeat for clarity: Gulf Coast High School and Immokalee High School will open at 5. Gulf Coast High School, Golden Gate High School will open at 6. As I said, we want to remind everyone to pay close attention to this weather conditions, listening to radio, television, NOAA weather radio, as we have some of these bands come on shore. Please continue to monitor our websites. We have activated our emergency page in Collier County to give additional information. Our press releases will have the addresses of these schools also listed. Let me turn it over to County Manager Amy Patterson, who will discuss government operations. Amy?
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here with us today. I'm going to go through a couple of things relative to county government. We are going to be closed for regular operations tomorrow. Parks, libraries, and all of those services will be closed on Wednesday. There will be no collection of garbage, recycling, bulky items, or yard waste on Wednesday, September 28th in unincorporated Collier County, the city of Marco Island, and the city of Everglades. And there will not be makeup collections. Collection services will resume on your next regularly scheduled day. Also, the Collier County landfill, the Immokalee transfer station, and all Collier County recycling drop-off centers will also be closed on Wednesday, September 28th. Residents are encouraged to place their garbage and recycling carts where they will not be blown away. This helps with our safety as well as keeping litter off of the streets and out of our community. Our sandbagging program, sandbags were made available to the public. All locations where sand and sandbags were made available are now closed. Over 150 tons of sand was provided to the community. Today, the Board of County Commissioners has suspended our Collier area transit fares, and they're waiving all fares for Collier area transit services. We're asking the community to continue to monitor the news for the latest on the storm track and find emergency preparedness information on the Collier's website at colliercountyfl.gov. And you can also follow us on social media, on Twitter at CollierGov, and on Facebook at facebook.com/CollierGov. With that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Summers.
Thank you. The Emergency Operations Center right now is partially activated. We have about 60% of our staff on board, which is the right sizing for our Emergency Operations Center. Due to the fact that we have shelter operations going on, we will have EOC staff here throughout the evening. We've been in touch with the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Governor's Office, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. All of our partners are lined up with us for any particular needs that we may have. We are very much aware that we have so much of the state of Florida impacted by this event. We're fortunate to be in the condition that we are in at this time for this near miss, if you will, and really all eyes are north of us to be able to assist those counties if necessary as well. Again, we remind you to be patient. This is a really good time to stay indoors, avoid any unnecessary travel. If you're looking for general information, dial 311. Please do not dial 911 unless it is an emergency, and treat all down power lines as if they are live. And if there are down power lines, please contact your utility company, FP&L, or Lee Co-op so that they can be aware. I'll stop and see if you have any questions at this point.
Dan, we talk about the evacuation order here. We've seen a ton of traffic going across Alligator Alley right now and sort of north as well. When is the cutoff point where you'll say it's time to stay in place and not leave?
And the question is, when do you think it's time to stay in place? Well, this is very unusual because what we're going to see are sporadic winds. We're going to see squall lines, but we have that continuous onshore flow. So I suspect that if we start to see winds, or we would recommend, just as we do with our responders, if we see sustained winds in that 40-mile-per-hour range, that's a good time to stop and to stay put. So sustained 30 to 40, that's not good travel conditions, and it's better to stay, to shelter in place at that time.
As far as people trying to seek higher ground, can you just explain that, you don't have to travel 60 miles to do this?
That's a great point. You do not have to drive 60 miles to be safe from these particular floodwaters. Again, our discussion is really along the immediate coastal area where we do have the potential, high potential, for storm surge inundation. We talked about 3 to 5 feet a day or so ago. Now we're talking 4 to 7 feet. We really are not going to know until the storm gets much closer. And what we don't want to do is be in a situation where we're trying to effect a high water rescue for someone who has just waited too late and they are too close to our coastal waters in order for us to get to them. So again, very much the case. All you need to do is go inland, family, friends, or a hotel, and hopefully this storm will get through here. We're not going to, we hope at least, we're not going to see something like we saw in Irma with a direct hurricane hit. We're getting the residual effects of the storm parallel to our coast, and one of those residual effects is an awful lot of water being moved into our coastal areas.
For people who are maybe thinking about staying in these mandatory evacuation zones, what is your message to them?
The message to those that are staying in these evacuation zones is simply this. You need to know that if you have emergency service request, if you dial 911, there is a point in time with this storm that we may not be able to get to you. So that's part of you evaluating your risk. If you're on high ground, you're in good health, you have no concerns, you have plenty of battery resources to carry you through, shelter in place, that's okay. But it's not a time to be out and about, number one. But number two, understand that it dramatically limits our ability to get to you during times of emergency. Other questions? Thank you guys for waiting. Thank you very much.